Hi, good morning, friends. It's Diane, the Creative Inkster, and I apologize for being a couple minutes behind. Haven't done a live in a little bit, and so wasn't filling in all the blanks where I needed to. So we are live, Global Inspiration Stamp Team, on Saturday, July the 12th. Thank you so much for joining us this weekend. We do really love to do this for all of you and share some different ways that we like to use our Stampin' Up! Products. And so my celebration is children's birthday parties because we've just had one in our family. My grandson turned 3. It's actually birthday season. So at the end of the video, I'm going to share another project from my family. So we have one in June, one in July, 2 in August, and 1 in September. So I can only show you June and July, but I'll do that. So Darling Dinos is the bundle that I chose to work with. I hadn't used it enough, and I just found out my grandson has totally loved dinosaurs, so it was perfect. So let's go ahead and get started with this. I'm making a card and a gift tag, and we'll just jump right in. So here's my project. I'm also going to show you how to make the envelope for my slimline card. This is called a slimline because it's not our standard 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 in North America. This one's going to measure, I'm sorry, I'm only using imperial measurements, 3 1/2 by 7, 3 1/2 inches by 7 inches tall. It opens up and has a little insert. And because it's not a standard, we do have envelopes for a little bit larger size of this, what we used to call a business envelope, if anybody mails anything anymore in a business world. And so I'm going to show you how to make an envelope that this will easily slip into, unless you have lots of embellishments on the outside, and then you can seal it. You probably could mail it. I often would hand deliver these ones. So there's my card, an envelope, and then my thought in the celebrations was for giving away at the end of the party where you have, or putting them out for treats at the party. I found online these cute little reusable food pouches off Amazon, because that's where I buy everything, it seems, online. And there's a 10-pack, and in Canada I think they were about $15, $16 plus tax, and 2 of them are dinos, which was perfect for this. And so how these things work is you just let the kids suck them out of this end, but you can put frozen or liquids or whatever by using the Ziploc opening at the bottom. So that was the product I found to go with. And then here's my cute little coordinating tag to pull the idea together, and I have one final project to show you at the end. So let's get started. For the card, I'll put it up here as a point of reference. We're going to need a number of items, which I have prepared because my table jiggles a lot if I'm using my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So decided to just get everything cut and ready to go. So here's my card base in Old Olive. It measures 7 by 7 so that when it's scored in half at 3 1/2, I get that slimline look. Then I have a layer for the front in Balmy Blue, which measures 3 3/8 by 6 7/8. So it's a nice large layer. It just gives that change of color between your white and your card base. And then I have my card in white at 3 1/4 by 6 3/4. Now I embossed this using the dotted circles embossing folder, and I find this one, I'm never quite sure how I pardon me, how I want to use it. And so I'm going to share a couple of tips on what I did this time. I often use the black line that goes along the bottom here where where the logo is as a line-up piece for the bottom of the card that I am putting through, so that I know that I get the pattern straight. And in this case, I decided I really wanted it very much centered. So by putting it in the black, it seems that this length of paper was perfect. And it's nicely centered side to side. And I ran it through. I love these larger embossing folders for scrapbooking and memory keeping layers as well. Alrighty, so there's our outside layer. And then also for the outside, I used the Spotlight on Nature dies, and we're going to just cut this off, but I also use this on my tag, so I'll show you that in a minute. And then we've got a dinosaur. So one thing I found when I'm doing my classes is people have a little difficulty stamping on basic white and or any color, stamping their image, and then die cutting out. Sometimes seeing where the lining, where it should line up for cutting out, can be a bit of a challenge. So I've started doing something with a little template. Just going to pull in a piece of scratch paper so that, actually, let me pull this in so you can see it a little bit better. The mat, there we go. So this is cut, it's just a scrap, I think it's 3 by 4.5. And it's just a template that I will keep in my stamp set. And I can cut out, sorry, I should say that I cut this piece out of the backing of a designer series paper pack, so it's a little heavier weight. And then when I'm at it for preparing for a class, I'll cut a whole bunch of blanks with my dies, and then folks can just put this here, slide the blank in, because it nests nicely in this thicker piece of card. And then when they're ready to stamp, as long as it's photopolymer, which this set is, they can more easily line it up. It's so much easier, it seems, for them to go that way. Now, we did used to have a product that was a stamp positioning tool. We no longer sell that, so I don't promote that. But I find this as a really nice alternative with photopolymer stamps. So I'm going to show you how I do that in real life. And then I've got some of the balloons that I've cut out, and then I stamped and cut out a white one with a black border on it. And then for my greeting, and then a couple of pieces of the, I don't know, what you call it, the grass, I suppose, just for some more dimension, finish off this area of the card here. All right, let's get started on making the card. So I've already folded my card base, and I'm going to burnish it. I mentioned it's birthday season, so June was my grandson Alistair's birthday, and then this week was my son Alec's birthday. He turned 27. He's my baby. And then we have in August my 2 other children and my son-in-law in September. So yeah, we're into a lot of cake. All right, so let's take this white layer that's already been embossed, and let's glue it down with your glue of choice. I really like liquid glue. I'm doing that virtual workshop that we have coming up this week, and I purchased the Stampin' Seal to do with that, because I don't usually use Stampin' Seal. I love my liquid glue for repositioning things. Maybe I'm just messy and have difficulty getting things straight, but I'm excited to use the Stampin' Seal product, which I have in the past but haven't used in a while, for the virtual scrapbook, which is 12 months 2-page spreads. Very excited for that. You can still get in on that too, for sure, while supplies last. All right, so then we're going to stick this on top. Oh, before that though, I think I'm going to work on this circular piece here. So let's find out where the circle went. Anybody see it on the table? Often they fall off and land up on the floor. Oh, it's tucked in behind my paper. Here we go. So I'm going to stick this on because I want to trim off a little piece of it. And I could go ahead and use my paper trimmer as well. That's another way too. But if I want to be sure that it lines up really well with the balmy blue there, I'm just going to glue it down. So I'm just going to leave a little smidgen of non-glued areas so my paper snips don't get all sticky. And I don't know, I didn't really measure it. I'm not really into measuring stuff if I don't have to. All right, so grab my snips, and I will cut. It's hard to see, I know, because I'm blue on blue here, but I'm cutting off from the back side so it's nice and flush. Toss that out. And next is going to be, now I'm ready to glue it down to the front of my card. So as I said, I'm really into this stamp set because Alistair's into this stamp set, and whatever he's into, well, Grandma's into as well. So I've got a cute little other project to share with you. So then I always like to do the insides of my card, particularly when I make the cards, because otherwise I'll have them sitting somewhere and then I'll be like, oh, I need to use a card. Oh, I got to cut some card bases and all that stuff. So this, by the way, is the white craft ink pad. Many people do this. You've probably seen it. And I just took my Memento refill and I filled it with Memento because this white ink pad comes blank with a white refill in craft ink. And so I make that up because I like how it stamps so nicely. It stamps really well. So on the inside of my card, I'm going to put my guy down here. I still use Memento. I have 3 Memento ink pads, but I do find that this works really nicely for getting great coverage. So let's put this guy on the inside. And then there's lots of ways you can color to add color to it. I've chosen to go with Stampin' Blends in Coordinating Balmy Blue, and this is the light Balmy Blue, and the 2 Old Olive colors. So Balmy Blue, I guess I'm going to use on the front. So let's just get the body done. So when you have your blends, the best way to open these to keep them from being damaged, either the tip or the barrel, is you'll see 3 dots at the top here. You want to hold the entire black part of the barrel in your hand and then push forward to get that out. And similarly, when you're putting it back on, you want to line it up nicely so you don't risk damaging the tube. But I find when people try to pull it off like this, either right or left-handed, there is a chance that you can crack this barrel here. So that's just a safety tip that I have learned over time. So I'm going to use, am I using light? Oh, I'm using dark. Okay, this guy will be a little bit darker green this time. No problem. And you could also use your Stampin' Right markers. They just don't blend quite as well, but if you use your ink pad, if that's what you have to color with, you can use a blender pen. You can use your pastels. You can use watercolor pencils, whatever you have. Adding some with using the water painter as well with the ink. I just find that you might want to use watercolor paper if you're using any watercoloring. The blends are my go-to. It's quick and easy, but I recognize that not everybody has a big collection of these. But I will say, if you're going to get any, buy Old Olive. It goes with every season. Just recently, my daughter asked me, Mom, what's your favorite Stampin' Up! Color? And that was like a loaded question. I'm like, I don't know. Wasn't that interesting? Oh, okay, grab the wrong one. This is dark granny apple green. No problem. Dark Old Olive. I must have light Old Olive. Here we go. All right, we're going to change on the fly. I just grabbed the wrong one out of the pile. It happens. What I'm going for is alternating colors of green. I still want my dinosaur to be in green, although for Alistair, he would probably like this in purple. Purple is his favorite color, but green's my favorite color. Well, green and blue. So yeah, she asked me what my favorite color was, and I was like, that's a hard one, honey. I'm not sure. Let's just add a little blue on this guy's fingertips for his nails. And, but I went with Old Olive as my answer because I find that it goes with every season. All right, so there's the inside done. What you'll find when you color with your blends is it does show through. So I don't recommend coloring an outside of an envelope unless you don't care, or a white layer that isn't going to be covered up onto a darker layer if you don't care that the coloring shows through. Even if you put this on white, I think you'll be in fairly good stead. All right, so we're going to add this guy here on the inside. So this piece is just a quarter layer, we call it, like the layer, first generation layer on the inside. All right, and then I'm going to show you how the stamping goes for this guy, keeping an eye on my time. So here's that template I mentioned at the top of the video. This is the backing of DSP, cut it down just big enough for the die that I would need, and works great with photopolymers. Now we're going to add the ink, and I apologize if my head goes on the inside of the camera here because I'm going to lean forward so that I don't get glare, and I can try and line this up as best I can. Oh, it turned out pretty good. So again, the other way is when I'm in a class and if people don't line it up well once they've cut it, I always recommend stamp it, cut it, then color it, so you don't have all that coloring time in case it didn't turn out well. I'm going to just switch over to this one, which turned out a little bit better, but I can make lots of blanks and I can have lots of turns at doing it, and I find that it works out pretty nicely. So then I'm going to color this guy what I intended, light old olive, just to kind of coordinate with my card. We like our coordination, don't we? It works out so well. Just finishes off a card nicely. What's your favorite color? Do you want to share your favorite Stampin' Up! Color? Some of us are drawn to color families, like Regals. There was a time when I was like so into Regals. I guess it kind of depends on a bit on the kind of cards you like to make, but I do find that if we mix and match something from subtles and regals and neutrals, you get a really nice set of tones of colors and a nice color palette. If you didn't know, we have something called the Color Coach, which you can print off. It's sheets that shows you 3, I believe, color combinations per Stampin' Up! Color, and it changes year to year. So check in with the demonstrator that invited you for some assistance with that. I find it helps me a lot when I'm kind of stuck with what color goes well with what, especially when we get some new in colors. Some people are really great at color theory, and they easily identify colors that will meld well together. And I find that that's a really invaluable tool to me. I'll show you quickly what I did with mine. Just going to get this guy all colored up here. See, it goes fairly quickly. Oop, you need dark green nails. There we go. Put that on carefully. And then I'll add a little bit of blue, I think, as well to the inside of the body piece, and just kind of a little pop of blue. And if when you're doing this you find that your colors have gone outside the lines a bit, we have one called the Color Lifter, and that helps. It almost bleaches it out a little bit, so sometimes I've used that as well. And on this greeting, I'm going to go with, I wanted to go with something different because I was actually going to give this card to Alistair today when I see him. And instead of a birthday, because he's had his birthday, this one says, "You're terrific." So I grab a little bit bigger piece of cardstock for that. And I want to show you a tip for putting your photopolymer stamps on your blocks. So sometimes they shift a little bit, which is great because you may want to do it on an arched edge like that, and so you can lay it on your block that way. But I find if I put it down on a surface it's not going to stick to, take my block and go over top, I don't get bubbles, I don't get it going a bit wonky. It just works a little bit better for me. So let's find the old olive ink. And ink this stamp up a little bit. You're terrific. And I think I will just put it about there. I'm going to trim it down a wee bit. And that's it for ink. Cool. Tuck that out of the way. Alrighty, now we're going to work on putting together the rest of the card. Here we go. Let's grab our beautifully colored dinosaur and add some dimensionals to pop this guy up. They're cute. I like these dinos because they're sweet and they're cute and they're not scary. All right, and then I'm going to add the grass pieces. So I kind of put one liquid glued down, that's actually a word, and then the second one popped up a bit with dimensionals. I think it's time to get a new liquid glue out. I don't know. I'm very frugal, so you might see me throwing it down like this a number of times just to get the most out of it I can. There we go. Glue that down. And then we will pop this baby up. Right beside. There we go. And then I've got my Terrific. I'm going to cut this down a wee bit. So I was able to get it straight in my stamping, so that worked out well. And then this is going to go, I'm going to have to trim some off. So I'll grab my paper snips for that. Maybe cut a little bit off here. Like I said, I don't often measure. I just find it impedes my process. So, is that where I want to put it? Yeah, that'll work. So I can pop this up on dimensionals as well. Remember to use the ends of your dimensionals, and so you don't throw those away. They're great for these long skinny pieces, or if you need some smaller pieces, you can cut them up. We were recently at a team event chatting about it, and someone said, "Oh, what do you do? What's your process? Do you like cut them all up?" Somebody starts by cutting them all up. I wait till I usually have most of that open, and then I'll cut the pieces, but I take all the regular ones from the inside. I don't know, we're all different, right? Sorry, I had to just pop over and grab my baker's twine. I must have taken it out of here. I'm going to put some baker's twine on my balloons. But first, this one here, that's white, I'm going to add some different colors to it. So I'm going to put my silicone craft sheet down beside and grab a ruler, and I'm going to use the blends to add that. That's why I took Granny Apple Green out, because I was going to use different colors. All right, so we're going to kind of put it on an angle. I guess if I put it that way, and I'm going to put my ruler in front. It's probably a little deep of a color. And then I can get the sort of more straight line. So leave the blue. I'm going to probably go back to that. Now we're going in with dark Granny Apple Green for another layer of color. Ooh, I think I want to use the brush tip end. So kind of go across the edge and then straight line there. And now some more balmy blue. Push that down a wee bit. Just color that in. And Granny Apple Green. I'll have space for just a teensy bit of blue left. So there's no measuring here either, other than the ruler to help me draw somewhat of a straight line. It is Saturday morning after all. And then I can just kind of fill this piece in. There we go. And it's just a way to do something more with your stamps. So I have 4 balloons I'm working with. And I'm going to, oh yes, I put this down and I meant to put the ties for the balloons underneath there. Oh well, things happened. So we will take 3 strands. I know there's 4 balloons, but there's just going to be 3 strands. In fact, I think we'll do 2 on this one. So this I cut at 9 inches, and I'm just going to fold it in half, and I'm going to put a little, I'm going to do this one differently. I'm going to put a little tie, I'm going to just tie them together in a little slip knot at the bottom, and kind of tuck it in underneath his hand, and then I'm going to glue my balloons together on there. So on the back of each one, I'll put a dimensional. These things are liquid gold. because they just add so much to a card without adding postage. All right, so I'm going to put them down, and then I'm going to tuck this piece underneath them. I know it seems a bit odd, but that's what I'm doing. Nothing was too measured out here because I wanted this to be easy and to show you how to simply do something like this. I'm going to put the one that I colored kind of in the middle. All right, so then I can have this tucked underneath where his hand is with a glue dot. Glue dots are also an invaluable adhesive tool. Grab my scissors or snips and kind of make a little ball out of it and tuck that underneath my dino's hand. There we go. Sort of sticking on there, and then I'm going to push this underneath with my... Now, had I done this the way I'd originally thought, I'd not have to tuck it in. I would have put it on the dinosaur before I got him glued down, but I got carried away. There we go. It works. And then these are going to come up here. I'll tuck that in a little bit more. If your snips get sticky, like whose don't, then I will just go ahead and use some hand sanitizer or Goo Gone, not to promote a product, but use that to get the stickiness off them. All right, this was a bit long. But we'll tuck this underneath as well and add my strands. Let's tuck those underneath there with a little help from my tools. There we go. I'll just spread them out a wee bit. Do a little surgery here. There we go. Behind your nose. There we go. All right. And that is the card put together. Isn't it cute? I love it. I love it. You could add some gems as well. And I would probably take some pearls or rhinestones and color them, like the iridescent pearls, and color them with a coordinating color. All right, let me show you quickly how to make the envelope for this. Get my instructions out real close. Oh, I'm running close to time. So you can use basic white. I wouldn't recommend thick basic white, or you can use designer series paper. What I wanted to use was white, and you can decorate it too. You could use another cardstock. Basic white tends to be just about the right feel. And we're going to make it so that the card slides in this way. So you measure your card first. So my card is 3.5, which means I want it to fold over, so it needs to be at least 7 and a little bit more. So I made this piece, cut it to 8 inches across. That will cover the 7 inches I need to fold over and a little seam. And then from the top and the bottom, I measured the length is 7 inches. I added 2 inches, so it's 9 inches top to bottom. And that way I have room to make the flap seam here and the tuck down seam here. So with it in front of me, take my card, kind of pop it in the center, and then fold this over carefully and this side carefully. Now you don't need to make it super tight because you want to have room to slide your card in. Remember, it's not just the card left to right, but you've got some dimension on it too. So I'm just going to make some soft fold lines with my fingers on the side, and then I'm going to take my bone folder and lining the bottom and the top edges up. I'm just going to, not a huge hard fold, not so that it goes down down fully, because I want it to be able to have some give with the dimensionals. Okay, So then I'm going to open it back up, grab my scoring tool on my paper trimmer, and I'm going to score it at 3/4 of an inch on the top and the bottom. Double checking the measurement, yeah. Scoring, top and bottom, which is along that 9-inch side, 3/4 of an inch both sides. All right, so then we are going to put it in here, put it together. We got to do some mitering. We do not need the outside rectangles. Okay, so as you fold it over here, we're going to get rid of those so that the flap goes down and the flap goes up. So grab your paper snips and cut off the outside rectangles where you scored it down at 3/4 of an inch from the top and the bottom. That makes sense. And quickly, and then I did miter them a wee bit on the edges because I didn't want it to be too much bulk, so that helps. Okay, so I've cut the top, the two outside ones, and mitered the center, same on the other side. So I'm going to miter first because I know what I'm doing here. From inside the center one, and over, and over. Okay, there we go. Oops, a daisy. There we go. So now we're going to use some tear and tape. I'm going to burnish the top and the bottom though first. Grab your tear and tape, and we're not going to return or pull off the backing of the top until we're ready to use the card, but we will for the bottom because we want to put the envelope together. And then as you go over these, just figure out which side makes it the most centered and that you have the most amount of, that you have enough space for the width of your tear and tape, which is 1/4 inch. All right. So we're going to do the center line first. Put that down, tear it off. Fold it over. Again, I'm making a soft fold on the sides. I don't want this to be too squished down because I need enough space for the dimensionals pieces to fit nicely. And then put this one up. Use your bone folder. So that piece is nice and firm. And then we'll grab this card and slide it in, and then when I'm ready to use it, I will pull off the backing here, which I say when I'm ready to use it, which is going to be in like half an hour when it gets here. Okay, so there's the envelope and the card. Oh my. I'm going to find my gift tag, which was very similar in how I did this. A little bag with all the supplies in it. Oh, here they are. Okay. This is going to go very quickly. I'm going to need my baker's twine in white again. And because this already has holes in it, I don't need to punch any holes for what I want to do. So I'm just going to grab probably another 7 inches or so. Maybe a little more. There we go. I'm going to put this, take it off here so you can see a little bit better. What I've done is I've fed it through two of the, from the back, I popped it through one of the wider segments and then skipped a dot, a straight, a dot, a straight, a dot, and then through the next larger segment. I'm doing Morse code here. All right, and then I'll pull the two ends together and do a little over finger knot. I don't know, there's probably a fancy word for that knot. Call it an over finger slip knot thing. Okay, then here we go with our guy again. And in this case, we're saying you're the best because we're so happy that people came to this party and enjoyed being with us. So we're going to put some Old Olive on that greeting. It says you are the best. Simply the best, as Tina Turner would say. And then color up our guy real quick. This goes fairly quickly, honestly. I find with the blends, it's like a one-step process. This one is Old Olive in light. Color it up. I hope you've been enjoying our 2-day extravaganza here. We do enjoy putting this presentation on for you, our valued customers. And remember that when you are ready to place your order, make sure you do it in the next week so that you can get the PDF project sheet with our measurements and images. That's a limited edition item that you can receive with placing the order with the demonstrator who invited you, and you get all the projects. You don't just get your own demonstrators, you get all of them, which really has super value to it. If you have any questions about the products that we use, feel free to put a note in the videos. We'll be checking them, or reach out and we're happy to help. You may sort of see something that you think, oh, I've never thought of that before. I've never thought of using that product in that way. Everyone is so unique. That's what I love about this group, is that it's global. So we get to see what people do in other countries, because we're used to our stuff in our own area as demonstrators. We hang out with all the same people. But if you meet new people and try new things, you get some great new ideas. So we're glad you're here for that. That's sort of straight on. And then there is a dimensional on this one. It really just mimics the card, which I think is kind of pulls all this lovely together. And you could also instead, this could be the tag on a gift bag for a treat bag for Alistair's birthday. My daughter did candies from the local store and in town, and little candy loot bags, which were lovely, and the little ones love that. But whatever you end up being as we call them loot bags, at your treats, you could use this tag or a version of this tag to pull it all together. All right, so there's my tag, done really quickly. You could do this up in no time. All right, for my last bit of 4 minutes, I want to share something I made for Alistair that I'm going to give him today. So he had a banner that my daughter sewed for his birthday party. But with this set, I thought it would be so much fun to make him a banner that he could put in his bedroom with his name on it. So I'm going to try to pull it through so you can see. But yeah, I've just alternated the 3 different dinos that are on this in the set, colored them to kind of coordinate together, and then put the letters using the mini alphabet dies for his name. And I use that same Spotlight on Nature die. Didn't it turn out great? I love it. He's going to love it. So I'm going to give that to him today. I mentioned at the top that this is a birthday season. So my son turned 27 this week, and this is not my design, but I got these designs from Karen Titus's website. I know this has nothing to do with the project I did, but I did want to share them because I think they're really cute. So it is a Pokemon card, and when you pop up, it's got the Pokeball, and it uses this nice textured thoughtful textures. It's called Layered Thoughts stamp set. And I made a Pokeball with a little pop-up. So a shout out to Karen Titus for this amazing project. And then I just took a white bag and made the corresponding gift bag for it. So sharing some more birthday stuff. Thank you very much for being with me. I appreciate you hanging in there as I took my whole 45 minutes. Enjoy the rest of your time on this event. I apologize, I don't know exactly who comes right after me, but I know you're going to have fun time. Remember to place an order with the demonstrator that invited you, and have a great day. Bye for now.